We'd like to welcome you back to part 2 of our current event and weekly Bible study for June 14th, 2015. Um, Continuing, and I normally don't like ending parts right in the middle of a thought, but I didn't have a choice. I looked down at I can only upload teachings that are so many minutes because there's a megabyte max thing that I can't exceed, and I might have exceeded it there. I don't know. I only know when I do the conversions, but I had to stop it there. So I'm gonna finish off with these verses here. Uh, so we were talking about the same day that Lot went unto Sodom, it rained down fire and brimstone from heaven and destroyed them all, meaning all the Sodomites. And even thus shall it be in the day when the Son of Man is revealed. So um, this is this whole time that we're moving into now, the same time frame when the Son of Man will be revealed in the days of the Son of Man. Like the Bible talks about in the days of Noah. So we're dealing with this time that we're in right now. And God's giving a similar warning as what happened in Sodom and Gomorrah of fire and brimstone and destroying them all. Even thus shall it be in the day when the Son of Man is revealed. So we're literally, I really believe that we're close to a time when you may start to literally see fire and brimstone again come down on these sodomite strongholds. Those days are coming, you know. Then Job 4:8 says, even as I have seen, they that plow iniquity and sow wickedness, like planting a field with iniquity and wickedness, reap the same. By the blast of God they perish, and by the breath of his nostrils are they consumed. But the transgressors shall be destroyed together. And the end of the wicked shall be cut off. The transgressors shall be destroyed together. That reminds me a lot of Sodom and Gomorrah. That is the end. I mean, the average gay male has a lifespan of 39 years old. Okay? We're talking, that is massively lower than the average human being. Oh, it's because we're so righteous and so perfect and so puritanical and so wonderful. That's why we have a lifespan of 39 years. The Bible says the wicked should not live out half their days. No, it's because you're wicked. You're reaping what you're sowing. You are plowing iniquity. You're sowing wickedness, and you're reaping the same. What you're reaping is a 39-year on average lifespan because of your wickedness. I mean, that's just pure evidence of I mean, it's not a coincidence. It's not an accident. You know, I'm telling you the truth. I know the average gay person would hate my guts for saying that, but I'm like, well, I'm telling you the truth. Can you argue with these statistics? All the disease statistics and the fornication statistics and all the wickedness statistics about the gay and lesbian lifestyle that I've went over many, many times. All of I mean, so many different statistics are just off the scale um, with that demographic of people, and they're all bad, every one. But the transgressors shall be destroyed together, and the end of the wicked shall be cut off. And then ultimately, you're going to have a lot of them dying before 39 years old, because I really believe the days and times are coming when you're going to see literal fire and brimstone. It may not be this year, it may not be next year, but those days are coming when the transgressors shall be destroyed together, and the end of the wicked shall be cut off. And God says, as it was in the days of Lot, you know, what happened in Lot's days? Sodom, it rained down fire and brimstone on them, destroyed them all. Thus shall be in the day when the Son of Man is revealed. I'm telling you. Maybe it won't come into the very end of the tribulation. But I believe leading up to that, you still reap what you sow. I believe you're going to see their lifespan even go down further on average, especially as the world rubber stamps gay marriage. Ireland, the first one. Looks like America might be the second one. I don't know. I pray to God it's not. God can intervene, and I'm going to pray he does. But, man, it is... See, all of this stuff opens the floodgates for all of this wickedness to happen to America, and that's why I'm reporting on it. At the same time, I'm reporting on things like Jade Helm and all of the other wickedness we see. It's literally opening the floodgates. And then you got CERN. I mean, unbelievable. And then the Bible says in Psalm 101 verse 8, I will early destroy all the wicked of the land, that I may cut off all the wicked doers from the city of the Lord. That's their end. Don't they have any fear of God? No, the Bible says there was no fear of God before their eyes. You know? It's like when the Jews rejected Jesus Christ and they said to Pilate, give us Barabbas. You know, take away this Jesus Christ. We don't want to see him anymore. We don't want to hear his words. Give us Barabbas. Give us the murderer. Give us our sin. Give us our wickedness. That's what we choose. It's kind of similar. What happened? The Jews brought a collective curse upon themselves that has lasted to this very day. Where the Bible even says in the New Testament that blindness in part has happened to Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles come in. It doesn't mean they're not beloved of God for the Father's sake, as it talks about in Romans. I believe Romans 11. So again, you gotta rightly divide the word of truth. You got to balance all the scripture together. God isn't done with the Jews yet. He's not done with them. But unfortunately, they collectively brought a curse upon themselves as a nation because of the choice they made in rejecting their Savior, Jesus Christ, in favor of a murderer. It said, and they even said, let his blood, Jesus' blood, be upon us and our children. If you don't understand that concept, just key in affliction in the keyword search box at contendingfortruth.com. There's one I did. It's called, I think it's something about Israel's affliction. And it's not demonizing Israel, and it's also not condoning their actions. It's trying to approach the subject with biblical balance, is all I'm trying to do there. So let's go further. Now remember the title of this report was, I think, now let's just reread it. I don't want to get it wrong. 7 key events that are going to happen by the end of September. Okay, and actually we're going to go way over more than 7. But these are the ones that they were highlighting, and I added a whole bunch of stuff in. Okay, so July 15th to September 15th. A realistic military training exercise known as Jade Helm will be conducted by the U.S. Army. Thousands of U.S. military will take part in this exercise. And again, we've reported on this over and over in the last few weeks. The list of states slated to be involved in these drills include Texas, Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, Nevada, Utah, California, Mississippi, and Florida, but obviously it's even went beyond that. Now, this video that I'm going to play here is from information from a YouTube videographer called Professor Doom 1, and it shows where many of the military vehicles on trains and convoys are going across America, because we're seeing all of these troop movements on all these military convoys. Where are all these things ending up? Well, they're ending up on military bases, and they're being put there, staged there, pre-positioned there ahead of time for some event. It's not just happening because there's no end game to this. That wouldn't make any sense. Okay? They're going to U.S. Army depots, which are spread out across the country. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and play this.
This is a heads up to some military activity that is being noticed across the country. Now, it's always in the eye of the beholder, and yes, they are bringing home military equipment from Afghanistan, Iraq, other parts of the world, but they're also shifting and sending that stuff to other places as well. Now, when it comes to this equipment, the tanks, the trucks, all this stuff, people see this, most fear that this is going to be used against the people here at some point in time, in a revolt, things of that nature. Others, like Professor Doom here, and I watched his video and came across all this information, he thinks that is trying to take all of this equipment and put it somewhere where no one can access it, even our own military, to where they can't use it to turn against the government.
Which, it's speculation, but the pictures are real. I mean, these are Google, and they're showing, just all of, I guess these are maybe Hummers, from an aerial view, and I mean, tons of them being staged, being put at these military depot bases.
And what is interesting here is that they are at
And again, I supply the link. You can watch the video and see it for yourself.
this underground facility that's known for storing munitions. Okay? And they've noticed this in quite a few different places here.
So if it was known for storing munitions, if these things have any type of, let's say, 50 cal machine gun or whatever, this would be the ideal place to stage them, because they could get their ammo and then be ready to roll out from an undisclosed location, at a moment's notice if they had the troops to power all these things. It would take thousands to do it because there's so many.
This is California's Sierra Army Depot. See some of the
Okay, so some of these we're getting close up here. In fact, most of them, it looks like, have gun turrets on the top. They're big military. I don't know if they're what they call a deuce and a half, armored with, it looks like, gun turrets at the top, which I would imagine you'd mount a 50 cal to the top of that, and have an absolute total killing machine at your disposal.
vehicles zoomed in there. Now check this out. At first glance, you may not realize, what you're looking at here, but every single one of these little dots.
Oh my word! This is the compound, and it is huge. And these little dots, every one of them are these. I don't know. The ones I saw were like deuce and a halves with gun turrets on top. I mean, that is. I mean, we're talking an absolute army, an armada of these vehicles.
Is a military vehicle, and they go down every road constantly in every little spot. There's literally thousands of them. Here's a better look. Thousands and thousands and thousands.
Unbelievable.
All pulling up to these munitions.
It even shows the buildings that a lot of them are coalesced around, and they're saying they're munition areas, where I would imagine if you had this many vehicles and they had 50 cals, it would take a ton of ammunition to get these things armed properly. But this would be the ideal place to do it. And again, I'm not giving some blanket statement endorsement to Dabu 7, but at this point, these reports are coming in from everywhere. I mean, it's not just Dabu, it's not just Jones, it's like everywhere. The Bible says out of the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses a thing is established. There are so many people that are reporting on this at this point. We're going to be looking at this today, that there's no way you can just deny this anymore and say, well, he's not credible. Well, okay, what about these other 100 or thousands of accounts of all of this stuff going on across our country? Is it for just no reason?
Depots that go underground. You can see right here. Now, there's also an underground place in Kentucky that's just...
So that was the Red River Army Depot, and I'm assuming that's Texas, because the Red River, I believe, goes through Oklahoma and Texas. That's why they have the Red River Rumble, that football game, college football game, I believe, because it's like Oklahoma against Texas, I believe. Oh no, now they've changed it to the Red River Rivalry, because the Rumble is not politically correct. Anyway, sorry, I'm not endorsing football. I'm just saying it. Anyway, so let's go further.
It's like that. You see it here. Nothing here. Not a single truck, not a single vehicle at this location.
So in Kentucky, they found a similar spot, a similar base like this, because this is a very unique layout. This isn't like an army base where you're seeing. This is like, think of it like woods. Think of it like I don't know, 500 acres of woods or more. And think of that with streets going parallel one way every, I don't know, every, let's say, 1,000 yards. Well, maybe not even 1,000 yards. Every 500 yards. Another street with woods in between, and a road with these depots on them, and all of the trucks are parked on the road, like kind of off to the side or on the road. That's this type of military installation. It's not like you would normally see.
In Texas, in California,
Red River Depot, Texas, the same thing.
from two different bases. This is the Red River Army Depot right here that you're looking at.
Same thing. And guess what? Texas. The other one was in, I believe, more Southern California, which is one of the places that's labeled hostile for Jade Helm. Texas, the whole state's labeled hostile. Where do you see all of the military buildup of these deuce and a halves, it looks like, with gun turrets on them at military depots, where their ammo dumps, where they've got all their ammo getting ready to go? Where do you see all that? Texas and California. The one in Kentucky is empty. So it seems like something really big is getting ready to go down in this area where Jade Helm is being staged, particularly in the states they've labeled as red, which would be the hostile states. Southern California, the southern edge down the Southern California, Utah, and Texas, I believe, are the ones labeled in red. And I'm sure they've got other places as well.
And I just wanted to share this information with you guys, let it be known, for whatever reason, there are thousands of military vehicles in this area. An overwhelming amount, actually.
I mean, you when you see these pictures, it's just
I'll leave links to keep you
mind-boggling.
guys posted as I come across more info on this. Until next time, it's been Dabu7.
I mean, we're talking a lot of stuff. Now, then we have this in the video below, and I'm not going to play the video or the audios. I sent this out last night, more for your prayerful consideration. In the video below, a man by the name of Dale Lewis posted to his Facebook page that there will be an EMP attack this June in Texas. He claims that he was informed this through a friend who was approached by a soldier about the coming disaster. He believes that this is somehow linked to Jade Helm. There's no way to confirm or deny what Dale is claiming. However, considering the current circumstances, I felt like people should be made aware of something of this just in case. Okay, so again, I'm not giving my rubber stamp of approval on this. I'm not saying that this is going to happen. But if I didn't say something and it did happen, I would feel terrible because I would have never warned my listeners about this at all. So I'm erring on the side of safety and giving this caveat that say, even the guys putting the information out say, yeah, maybe it is disinformation. Okay? Maybe that this is the whole theme of Jade Helm is conquering the human domain. Maybe this is part of that. I know that they said during Jade Helm they were going to have guys in plain clothes going out into the public, trying to build trust, trying to infiltrate, trying to put out false information to see how quickly that false information would travel. Okay, so this could totally be a lie. Okay, but when you listen to these interviews of these two gentlemen, they seem very sincere, and I just don't detect a lot of guile or deceit in what they're trying to present. They're not trying to get rich off it. They're not trying to whatever. This is what was told to them. They even acknowledge, hey, maybe this isn't, but I can in good conscience not say anything about it. So here's what the man had posted. Now this is the guy who it was told to. Okay? And I think he's writing like it's first person, but it's actually not first person. This is the guy that it was the friend of the friend, okay, that it was told to. I was working in Austin today, and in line at the convenience store, a very peculiar person approached me. I could tell he was shaken up. Upon making eye contact, he approached me and casually asked if I knew what Jade Helm was. I said yes. He asked if I was military. I said no. Why? He said he just went AWOL, absent without leave, and he was a Navy SEAL too. He had the SEAL trident, I'm pretty sure, and is trying to warn as many people that'll listen that as he makes his way off the grid to a safe place. I was intrigued and asked what he knew. He hurriedly showed me some papers, and he did this on like this tablet that he had, this like kind of not like papers, but they were papers on this tablet, this computer that he had. And he said they looked very legit. Now, you can listen to the interviews. I don't have time to play them today. I sent it out last night in the email. I listened to both carefully. The lady was trying to vet the information as much as she could, and she even brought up the thing. She says, "Did you think that this could be put out just to see if what we're gonna do?" And they all acknowledge that could be the case. Okay, so I don't want to be over here saying this is gonna happen and whatever. But anyway, he said he hurriedly showed me some papers and proceeded to tell me that upon getting his quote orders, he quit and started running. He said Monday will be the kickoff event that'll send the operation real time. Monday, that's tomorrow. I'm going to try to get this up tonight, this teaching. Even I don't know how many parts it's going to be, but I'm going to try to get it up. He shared info, not sure how credible, that an EMP attack is planned over Texas next Monday. Now, again, I hate date setting. This could get pushed back. If it doesn't happen Monday, it doesn't mean it might not happen in a week. Because if the word's getting out, and the word is getting out, this has been the number one story on some of the alternative news media, this may get it pushed back. People praying about it may just get it stomped out. I believe there's many times they've tried to stage this in the last decade, stuff like this, that God didn't permit to happen. So just bear that in mind, okay? This is why I have this ministry in part, is that through prayer to move the hand of God so that this wickedness would not happen. Okay? And so he says that the EMP attack is planned over Texas next Monday. That'll be the first strike. I would say this. If you're in Texas, okay, and you're hearing this and it's Monday, because that's probably when you're going to be hearing this, I would get your laptop or anything that you have, whatever, shielded. I'm just saying, I at least err on the side of safety that way. Anything that you have electronic that might get fried that you want to preserve, get it shielded. Well, how do I do that? Well, the easiest way I know of is to go buy a metal trash can. They've got them at like Tractor Supply. I know they got those in Texas, I'm assuming. Probably could get it at most hardware stores. Yeah, most hardware stores have them too. Get them and get your electronics into there. Don't let it sit against the metal. What I did, and I'm not saying this is the way to go, I bought rubberized paint and I spray painted the inside. What I didn't know about the rubberized paint is that it gives off some of the most gaseous, worst smell you could possibly imagine. I had to literally take the trash cans, put them in where we're at in our garage, get them out of the house, get them into the garage, and literally run my really powerful industrial ozonator for like 2 or 3 days inside the trash can to get the smell out, and it's still in there. So I don't advise doing it that way. One way I saw it being done on TV is a guy took carpet and cut out pieces of carpet, around one for the bottom and then one for the sides. And just so that your electronics weren't sitting against the metal, get them off the metal. I don't know if a plastic bag would work in that regard, if that would be enough. I try to get a little bit of barrier between your electronics and the metal of the trash can. I'm not saying you have to do that. Do as you feel led of God. I'm just saying that is a real easy way to protect your electronics. You could go up on the internet and say how to build a Faraday cage. Of course, if it happens tomorrow, you're not going to have time to do that. Okay, you can literally do it with metal screen, and make enclosures that way. You can keep generators in those things and stuff like that, which is a great idea. So, again, don't do as you're led of God to do. I don't want to turn people into full panic, gonzo, crazy mode. It's not my goal. But I'm just saying these are some things that if you felt so led, you could do, and may preserve, your electronic. At bare minimum, if you have a backup of your computer, and I never advise this cloud backup stuff because not only can they get all your info, but there's no guarantee you're ever going to get any of it back, regardless of if you're paying for a service or not. But to have an external hard drive and keep that in a EMP proof container between backups. They have the laminate EMP proof bags you can buy as well in all kinds of various sizes. You have the trash can idea that I just told you about. It needs to be like sealed, whatever you're doing. It can't just be like sitting there with the lid off. Okay. And so you could do that as well. It's just some things to think about. You can probably key in EMP in the keyword search box at contendingfortruth.com and see a lot of other ideas I might have given out. I can't even, I mean, at this point, I know I've got over 1,000 audios up there. So who knows what I got. I mean, I got so much stuff up there. So anyway, he goes on to say, and again, I think this is a good subject just to cover. Even if nothing happens, even if let's say the hand of God moves, because there's enough prayer going up about it now, there's enough exposure of this. This is a scenario that I've seen over and over and over. The powers that be warn about, and typically, it is a Luciferian code. You have to warn the people about their impending doom or about something that they're going to do to you ahead of time prior to doing it. It's a principle of the Kabbalah. It's their code of ethics. Okay? It is literally their code of ethics. And it's just like if a vampire comes to your front door, black-eyed child, they have to be invited in. There is a code of ethics even among evil entities that they have to adhere to, and it's probably parameters established by God saying, okay, you can do this, but you can't do that. Because if that was the case, then, we'd all be dead. If they could just do whatever they want to. You know what I mean? I'm not saying, like a Christian doesn't have the strength or the power through the sword of the Spirit, which is the Word of God and the full armor of God, to battle these entities, and I mean that literally. I'm just saying, if Satan had his way, if he could just run roughshod over everything, and if he had his way, we'd all been dead a long time ago, is the point I'm trying to make. Okay, so this goes on to say, he said Monday's the kickoff of that event, and that'll send the operation real time. He shared info, not sure how credible, that an EOP attack is planned over Texas next Monday. That'll be tomorrow, or actually, if you're listening to it, it'll be today. That'll be the first strike. While I can't connect the dots, and again, what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to get as far in the study as I can today, and then if I can't get any more, I'm going to get these parts up, these first parts, so at least that'll be up online by tomorrow, hopefully by tomorrow morning. And then I might have to do the other parts later, because, I mean, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get through all the stuff I got today. Anyway, he says, while I can't connect the dots as to why Texas would be rendered moot, but analyzing the situation and figuring next Monday is the 15th, which is tomorrow, that could complete the 15 part of Jade Helm 15. Good point. I hadn't thought of it. Get it, Jade Helm 15. It's the 15th. I don't know. For what it's worth, I figured I'd share if something goes wrong, and here's the proof of prior knowledge, which is good to have a paper trail. Okay, now, for two different interviews from the source of this information, the one is the guy it was told to, his buddy, and then his buddy, the one that heard it firsthand, like a day or two later comes and says, no, I'm going to go ahead and do an interview, and he does an interview with this Project Camelot. Both of them do interviews. They both seem very credible. They seem very conscientious, articulate, without a hidden agenda. That's how they came off to me. I don't detect guile in them or deceit. I'm not saying I'm Mr. Discernment Meter, but if you hear the interview, it's like, these guys don't sound like they're trying to pull one over on somebody. Maybe they're incredibly brilliant liars, and maybe they are all part of Jade Helm 15, and maybe this is part of the conquering the human domain, and they're all in on it. I don't know. But they didn't come off that way to me personally. Okay, so for what it's worth, now if you combine this with the Dallas police shooter, which just happened a couple days ago, the guy that pulled up in his armored redoubt on wheels and started firing bullets into the Dallas police precinct or whatever, and thank God nobody was killed or hurt, but except the guy that ultimately was firing the bullets. You couple that with that, the Twin Peaks biker gang shooting last month. Now we see this video online where there's all of these, looks to be deuce and a halves, which is these big armored vehicles with gun turrets on top that we had just looked at from Dabu 7, who got that from this Dr. Doom guy or whatever. You combine that with the U.S.-Mexico border being wide open in Texas, with ISIS's presence in Texas on both sides of the border. All of these things I have reported on heavily in the last studies we've done. And you have, when you take all these things together, you can see there is a ton of disturbing trends happening right now in Texas. Not only that, I forgot the Twin Peaks biker gang shooting last month with the banditos and those other guys and the police and all the weird stuff around that. So you combine all that together, and Texas seems to be the epicenter of whatever is going to be going on right now, and it literally could be starting tomorrow. I'm not saying it is, I'm saying it could. So now let's go further. Remember, the title of the article, 7 things are going to happen in the month of September, or leading up to the month of September. So now we go to July 28th through May 28th. Or no, July 28th. On May 28th, Reuters reported that countries in the European Union were being given a 2-month deadline to enact a, quote, bail-in legislation. Any nation that does not have a bail-in legislation in place by the time will face legal action from the European Commission. So why is the European Union in such a rush to get this done? Are the top dogs in the EU anticipating that another great financial crisis is about to erupt? That's another thing. Okay. We're going to be talking more about that in a minute. September 13th, going to this date now, September 13th. This is the Elul 29 on the biblical calendar. I think that means maybe the Jewish calendar type of thing. Elul 29, September 13th of our calendar is Elul 29th on the biblical calendar, or the last day of the Shemitah year. Many are concerned about this because we have seen giant stock market crashes on the last day of the previous 2 Shemitah cycles. Now, I normally don't get into this kind of stuff, but you know what? Proof is proof, and if you have things validated and you can verify it happened before, just like all the times we've done things to go against Israel and to try to take away more of her land and to try to get her to give up more sovereignty and more, quote, land for peace, we always have some horrifically bad thing happen to us in America. Listen, you can say all day long that the Jews over there aren't the Jews and that God's done with the Jews and that there's no more, even though there's all kind of things in the New Testament saying God's not done with the Jews. And this blindness of part has happened to Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles come in. He's not done with them. They're still beloved of God for the Father's sake. Yes, they're in rebellion right now to God, but they're going to get their eyes opened, and it's not going to be that far off. And guess what? 1/3 is going to be silver as tried in the fire, and they're going to get pulled through that fire, and they're going to shine as silver that's been purged of its dross, according to Zechariah. And they're going to get saved, and they're going to look upon the one whom they pierced, meaning Jesus Christ, collectively. This is what the Jews did. And they're going to mourn for him as they mourn for an only begotten son that they lost. That's coming at the end of the tribulation. So that emphasis at some point will be heading back to the Jewish race. It's been gone from them for a long time. When? Until the fullness of the Gentiles come in. I've reported on this over and over. So, this is something that can be verified, okay? On September 17th, 2001, which was a Elul 29 on the biblical calendar, this was the Shemitah, I guess the one before last, we witnessed the greatest one-day stock market crash in U.S. history up until that time. The Dow plummeted 684 points, and it was a record that held for exactly 7 years until the end of the next Shemitah cycle. Are you kidding me? That's like a needle in a haystack saying that, oh, that just happened by chance. No, it didn't happen by chance. There's something to this, okay? There's got to be. You have the greatest day the greatest one-day stock market crash in U.S. history, the Shemitah before last, September 17, 2001. And then that was the record that was held for exactly 7 years until the next Shemitah cycle on September, well, it was almost 7, it was a little over 7 years, which was, the next Shemitah cycle was September 29, 2008, which is also Elul 29 on the biblical calendar. Okay, I guess it's the same date on the biblical calendar, Elul 29. On that day, the Dow fell an astounding 777 points, which is greater than the 684, which was the greatest loss in one-day history. Well, now it's fell 777 points, which still today remains the greatest one-day stock market crash of all time. Both at the end of the last two Shemitah cycles. And we got the next one coming up here on September 13th. And it is also Elul 29 on the biblical calendar. The end of the Shemitah cycle. And I think this one's like, I don't know. I've heard all this stuff, like one of them is like it's not going to happen for another 700 years or something. I don't know if it's the blood moon or this or what, combination thereof, or I don't know. But it's really super significant on that, from that standpoint. Now we're approaching the end of another Shemitah year, so will the stock market crash on September 13th, 2015? Well, they say no, because that day is Sunday. So I guarantee that the stock market will not crash on that particular day. But sometimes stock market crashes happen just before the end of the Shemitah year, and sometimes they happen within just a few weeks after the end of the Shemitah. Now, not to say something horrifically bad couldn't happen on that day, September 13th, 2015, which, I've heard the middle of September, or about September 13th on, is just going to be like insane. And then as soon as the stock market opens up, it's literally bye-bye stock market. It's going to be the biggest crash ever. Because of what did happen on Sundays, is the point I'm trying to make. Okay? So sometimes stock market crashes happen just before the end of the Shemitah year, and sometimes they happen just within a few weeks after the end of the Shemitah. So we are not just looking at one particular day. Now, this just came out. Again, I'm going to go ahead and play this. I'm going to play it for your edification and for you to glean from. And I'm not saying this is the case. I'm saying there has been a lot of stuff that Lindsey Williams has said, though, that has been accurate. I'm not saying everything, but a lot of what he said has been accurate. And I'm going to go ahead and play this video here. Because, again, what we're looking for is
something about the idea,
confirmation on, okay, can we validate things? Is everything coalescing? Is everything coming together? Do we see a lot of the same things kind of pointing in the same direction? And yes, we're definitely seeing that. And this is what we're trying to do with today's study, is to validate all of that. So I'm going to go ahead and let this particular video roll here. I'm kind of waiting for this commercial to end before I put the sound back on. Okay, here we go.
There is going to be a global currency reset. Are you catching this? This is not a collapse of the American dollar. This will bring about the American dollar losing its status as the world premier reserve currency. This will cause what?
Okay, so get this right up front. It's a global reset of the American currency. It isn't a total devaluation crash. It's a global reset, which will bring about a new world reserve currency. Now, I've been hearing about this for a long, long time. The dollar's dead. It's on life support. The only answer that any of them have is more QE, printing money, more money out of thin air, printing more debt, basically debt instruments out of thin air, with nothing backing it, no gold, no silver, no nothing. That can't go on forever. Okay? So this is just validation to me with what I know to be is inevitable. And again, I've gotten into the subject over and over and over again. That's why I'm playing this, because this is absolute validation to what will have to happen at some point. And it looks like it's going to be not too far off.
Washington to be able to say to the American people, we must confiscate your pension funds because we have no more choice. The Chinese aren't showing up to buy our Federal Reserve offers. Font.
So in other words, the Chinese have stopped buying our debt, which is what they've been doing for a long, long time. It's one of the reasons why they basically own the country now. And this will be part of the systematic way to get America to collapse.
And T-bills. The Japanese aren't showing up anymore. The oil-rich countries, Saudi Arabia and others, they aren't showing up anymore. They don't trust the American dollar. They've had it. They've done with it. You know what China said a week ago? And they aren't buying them anymore. And it will be an excuse when this global currency reset takes place. It will be an excuse for our president and Congress to come out and say, folks, we have no choice. Either collapse the entire country immediately, or you're going to have to let us go into your pension funds and take them. And this will be the excuse that they use. I've already been told this. Then, shortly after that, or within the same time frame, you may have a currency devaluation. But it won't mean banks closing. They don't want that yet. It's not time. That's a year to a year and a half from now. But there are certain things that you've got to do between now and January 1. Have you noticed how much gold China is buying? And then I'm going to come back to global currency reset. Did you know that China is the largest purchaser of gold on the face of the earth? I want to give you some here. 131 metric tons of gold. September 2013, they imported 116 metric tons of gold. Last month, in fact, for the past 2 months, or I should say for the last month, China has imported 100 metric tons of gold.
Okay, now, this is something that we're going to be talking about in depth as well. The role China plays in this, how their insatiable gold buying that they have been doing, particularly as of late. And this is something we're going to go into in depth as well to validate this information further.
The year 2011 and 2012, China's been doing this because they saw what was on the horizon. They know what's going to take place. They're involved in all this. For the years 2011 and 2013, those 2 years alone, China imported 2,232 metric tons of gold in 24 months. This is equal to the world's entire mined gold supply for 1 year. You realize that China is buying all this up? Not the rest of the world. Why? They know what's about to take place. And they know that the only thing that anything can be backed by is gold and silver. And we're making no preparations in America. All we're doing is creating debt. China is creating gold. Now, the figures that I just gave you do not include the amount of gold that is being mined within the country of China itself, which may be equal to the amount that they're importing. We don't know because they don't have to tell us how much they mine within the country. So China is definitely preparing for global currency reset. Now, I'm going to give you some statistics and facts. You just have to sit back and watch it happen. I'm begging for you to take precautions before it does. Within the next 3 months, you heard me correctly, within the next 90 days or less, it could take place tomorrow morning. It could take place a week from now. But within the next 3 months' time, the World Bank, the IMF.
Okay, so you can kind of see why, I felt like there was more of an urgency. I heard the one thing about Monday. I heard this. It could take place tomorrow. You know what I mean? I'm not saying any of this is going to, but I just felt like I needed to put this out. And that's why this teaching got so huge and voluminous, because there's so much breaking information that I feel like I need to at least warn my listeners about, that I had to include it all in one teaching. And that's why this teaching is going to be so gigantic.
In conjunction with the elite. By the way, may I say that many congressmen in Washington know this? I have this on authority from my friend, and our president knows this. He knows it good and well. They know that there's going to be a global currency reset, not collapse, not devaluation, a reset. Please catch the words carefully. And now I'll try to give you some details on this, if I may. And you'll notice that I'm picking my words very carefully, because there are certain things I can say and certain things I can't say. Certain things, if I said, I'd get in trouble. So I'm trying to help all of America to know this now. This event is planned within 3 months' time, barring divine intervention. It will happen. There are 204 countries that have agreed to allow their currencies to be revalued. Please catch my wording here very carefully. 204 countries, and they've agreed with the IMF to revalue their currency. They have promised the IMF that they will keep their currency within 5% differential of each other. That means there'll be no more currency wars once this is done. They want to do away with them because they want total control for the New World Order. And in order to bring in what they want, they've got to do it this way. There will be no announcement ahead of time. You will not know this until you wake up one morning, and it's probably on every newscast out there that there has been a global currency reset. It probably won't upset you too much at the first because the banks won't be closed. Now, I'm giving you the order of events.
Okay, sorry that I got a commercial started there.
They will not ask you to bring the money in that you have between the mattress. They are not going to diminish your bank account. So more than likely, the average American will hear our president say, the world, under the auspices of the IMF, and we agree with them, is probably going to experience has just experienced a global currency reset. And you'll say, well, so what? I just checked my bank account. Everything's fine. Everything will be fine for a few weeks until people really find out what it is. I'll give you some examples here. Currencies are going to be reset according to the IMF. Now, many of you know who is the new financial head of the IMF as of just a matter of weeks ago. This Christine Lagarde from France. And she is determined this is going to happen within 90 days' time. The currencies will be reset according to the assets of the country. This is where the catch comes in. And please bear with me in trying to explain this.
Okay, this Christine Lagarde, this head of the IMF, she's already said this is going to happen. Okay, and I even give you the link for that report where you can hear her say it out of her own mouth. She doesn't get super mega specific, but she said that there is going to be a global currency reset. Okay, so this is just confirming what they already said they're going to do. And that's a big reason I'm playing this, is because there's a lot of other things out there that are absolutely pointing to everything that he's saying being correct. Maybe it won't go down the way he said, but there is some global currency reset coming, and it's most likely going to be sooner than later, as far as I can see.
Because it is a little technical. What are assets of Great Britain? What are the assets of Russia? What are the assets of China? What are the assets of the United States of America? And if they reset the value of the currency, and all of the other currencies of these 204 will have a differential of no more than 5%. That means that the United States dollar can have no more than a 5% differential between China's and Japan's and the European Union's. Are you beginning to get the catch here? And when this reset takes place, the reset of the currency will be based upon the assets of the country. Let me try to explain the assets of America. America has more debt than all the rest of the world combined. Take everything in the world and combine it, and America has more debt. How much assets do we have? In light of the fact that the only thing America has is debt, and your American dollar is going to be reset down 30% of what its value is today. I did not say that they were going to go in and take 30% out of your checking account. I did not say that they're going to ask you to take 30% less tomorrow morning for what you're paying at the gas pump. They won't do it this way. They'll do it gradually over a period of time, and I'll try to explain how. American dollar will be scuttled as the reserve currency of the world. As of the date that you hear it announced that we're going to have a global currency reset, there will be never, ever again.
So, in other words, with 30% less buying power, and this is initially, and it'll probably get worse, you're going to see hyperinflation. It's not like they're going to take the money out of your account. They're going to get it another way. Your money is going to buy a lot less. Is going to start buying a whole lot less. Remember what I've said over and over about, and it's not me, but really a lot of other people a lot smarter than me, that they need to destroy the middle class of America. And the middle class of America that has IRAs and pensions, which they're going to steal outright, and 401ks most likely, even if you have access to them, they're going to be worth 30% less. Even if you can. But like he was saying, that they will steal your pension. Just out and out steal it. And this is a great way to absolutely decimate, particularly the middle class of America.
The American dollar as the premier reserve currency of the world. It's gone as of then because they are resetting currencies with a 5% differential, so there will be no need anymore for an American reserve premier status currency. There will be a reserve currency. I do not know what it is. They have not told me. They have merely said that there's going to be one. It will not be the American dollar.
Okay. Now, we're going to discuss that issue at length today. What is the new world reserve currency? Well, I'm not going to say yet, but I'm going to tell you in the next parts here what I firmly believe it to be at this point and what proof I can give you that that is exactly the case and that they have already announced it. I just don't think Lindsey Williams could say, combine this with, and I'm sure he knows, man, he gives hints in this video of what it will be. But I don't think there were certain things he could say together. I think saying what he said was about the maximum that he could say without flat out saying, and the new world reserve currency is this. We're going to get into that. Bear with me.
And the new currency that they will use, and I do not know what it is, but whatever it is, the currency that they use, the IMF uses when they reset the currencies, it will be gold-backed. Right now, there's some things happening that I can't tell you about. There are super wealthy people in the world right now that you've never seen such wealth in all your life as what they're making out of this. They know in advance that it's happening, and they're taking advantage of it. For instance, when Cyprus went in and took the money out of the banks that the people had, they're not going to do that in America. That's not going to be the method they use here. They'll use here global currency reset. And in Cyprus, they went in, closed the banks on a certain day, and said, we'll take out X number of dollars. The super wealthy, the president of Cyprus, many people from Russia who had their money hidden in Cyprus, because Cyprus was the major money laundering country in the world for Russians. They went in days ahead of time and pulled out every penny they had because they knew it was going to happen. The same thing is happening again right now. The super wealthy of the world right now are doing everything necessary to see to it that all of their money is in the new reserve currency of the world. I can't say any more. There are certain congressmen that are becoming filthy rich over this. Some of them don't even know it. I'm not going to go any further. I can't. It's treason.
So from what I can gather from this and the information we're going to be getting into, without giving away what I believe the new reserve currency is, because I want to frame that better, is the filthy rich are going ahead of time, as they always do, because they have insider information. They're going ahead of time. They're getting their money out of the dollar or whatever other currency they might be in, but the dollar in particular. And they are putting it in the new world reserve currency and in gold and in silver. Okay? And he says they're going to get whatever, filthy rich over this. Now, I'm not saying go do that. Okay? I'm telling you what he's saying. I'm telling you what it seems to be is very, very, very apparent. This isn't the only report we're going to listen to. We're going to look at some other things as well. Okay? So, again, kind of bear with me on this, and we'll get through this information, and then we'll move on to the next topic, because this is just one of the myriad of topics we're going to be covering today. And again, what's most important is for you to pray about this and to do your own research. I'm not telling you to do anything. I'm saying what they're saying. But what they're saying seems to be very apparent.
I don't know any other way to put it. And whenever you see this play out, I dare to say that you will be so angry. By that time, I won't be doing any more radio shows. I can't, because I know too much. But there is going to be a global currency reset, and let me try to explain why.
The reason you're going to be angry is because you're going to see the absolute starting to the devaluation of the dollar, 30% less purchasing power, and then probably go from there. And then people are going to have their pensions stolen, and potentially IRAs and whatever, 401ks. Probably a lot of this is going to get stolen. You're not going to be able to have access to it. I can't say any of that for sure, but it's sure moving in that direction.
America's currency will no longer be used as the reserve currency of the world. I'm going to give you some exact figures. I'm going to take the year 2000, and I'm going to use the year 2013, and I'm going to compare. I hope you have notes, pencils going, and if you don't, go back and re-listen to this program, and please write these things down so you'll understand it when it happens. In the year 2000, the national debt of the United States of America was $5.6 trillion. In 2013, it's 17 plus trillion, and I believe exactly what Chris said a moment ago, that the professor said it's so much bigger than this, there's no comparison, but this is what they admit to. That is a 209% increase in 13 years. In the year 2000, the federal yearly budget deficit was $236 billion. In 2013, the yearly budget deficit is $680 billion. That is up 188% in 13 years. Does America have any assets? No, we have nothing but debt. Are you catching this? We have nothing but debt. We do not have assets. This is the reason that the World Bank, China, Japan, the Middle East, they are getting out of the dollar this week. And last week, they're getting out of trillions of American dollars. They're cashing them in right now. They're getting them out. And they're going to be floating around 3 weeks from now. And nobody wants them. You mark my words. I want to go back again. 2000, the Federal Reserve balance.
Just by virtue of tons of dollars floating around and nobody wants them, that's going to devalue the currency by itself. In other words, supply and demand. If there's no demand for something, the value, the inherent value of it will go down. That's not even talking about the global currency reset that's coming. On top of that,
sheet was $700 billion. 2013, the Federal Reserve balance sheet was $4 trillion. Let me try to explain briefly the balance sheet. It's made up of money that you buy debt with. That's all it is debt. It's a balance sheet. It's nothing but debt. Mortgage debt, automobile debt, boat debt, any kind of debt there is out there. U.S. Treasury debt that the Federal Reserve has been quantitative easing 1, 2, 3 with. Money out of thin air. Let's go to another one. And you tell me whether we have any assets left in America or not. It's not debt. The year 2000, gold was $280 on the average for that year. 2013, average about $1,250. That's up 28.85% in 13 years. Silver in the year 2000 were $4.95. 2013, approximately $25 for the year so far. That's 26.25%. The Dow Jones, let's compare it to gold and silver. And then you see whether you should have taken my advice back years ago when Mr. Fromm told me that their currency was gold and silver. The Dow in 2000 was 11,300 for average that year. 2013, the Dow Jones is 15,300. The Dow is only up 36% in 13 years, an average of 2.77% per year, whereby gold is up, well, you heard it a moment ago, 28.85% per year. Now, looking at those statistics, what is the value of the United States of America? We don't have any. What assets do we have? China has Caterpillar. China has Boeing. China has your clothes manufacturing and your shoes. China has nearly everything on the Walmart and Target shelf. China has everything. And not only do they have General Motors and most of the other manufacturing in America, they also have all the patents. Because the only way that they would ever allow an American company to go into China is to also give the patents and the secrets to those patents to China and whatever China businessman they were doing business with. So China today literally has all of our assets. What do we have? We have some land, sure we do, and we have some debt, and we're well blessed with that. And we have Washington, who knows how to put on a dog and pony show. And now we're coming up to the place that the whole world says, we do not want any longer your currency. We don't trust it. It's ready to fall. The Federal Reserve is having to hold it up to the tune of $85 billion every month in quantitative easing 3 and cannot taper. And we know what's going to happen because eventually all of this must come to an end. Therefore, they're not coming to buy the interest on our debt anymore. And when it's not paid, the dollar will collapse. And you've got approximately a year and a half before that dollar completely, totally collapses. In the meantime, within the next 90 days, if...
So he's saying it looks like within a year and a half of this being initiated, the dollar will totally collapse. But I guess you'd have like a year and a half, but you're still going to get that 30% devaluation right off the bat, and then from there it's just going to get over the next year and a half, I guess, totally collapse. Is what he's saying. I'm not saying that's the case, but I again, I've been warning about this for years.
This Christine Lagarde and the IMF have their way. They have planned a global currency reset, and it will affect you in the following way. Please try to understand how this is coming to you. Now that the reset has taken place, and you'll hear it announced in just a matter of days, and when it takes place, everything from that point on, when the dollar is reset in relation to all the other currencies, if Walmart wants to buy anything from China next month, they're going to pay approximately 30% more for it. That means you won't feel it at Walmart and Target and the hardware store and the grocery store for a month, maybe 2 months. You'll feel it at the gas pump much faster. Probably within 30 days, you're going to see gasoline go up to astronomical prices. You're going to see those products now, because of the global currency reset and the fact that they've cashed in their dollars, and no longer is the dollar the reserve currency, and no longer are they showing up to buy our debt, and no longer can anybody hide this anymore. And now it's becoming apparent within 30 days, and you're wondering, how in the world am I going to be able to make my house payment? And you won't be able to. Because how can you do it when you have to pay 30% more for your hardware store and your groceries and everything that you get at the other stores? How can you possibly make the payments? Oh, that's exactly what they want. The New World Order wants you to default on that because, after all, they have bought that mortgage the Federal Reserve has through quantitative easing. You know, they bought the house mortgages. That's what they've been buying with this. So they own your house mortgage. And now when you can't make the payment, what do? That's what they want. They want to say, well, we'll be glad to let you live in the house, just pay us rent. And Federal Reserve owns it, the elite owns it, the New World Order owns it, and you can go back now and just keep on living here a long time. And you'll give in. You'll do exactly what they've said because of what they have done to you. But at that point, for all practical purposes, it's too late.
Okay, that's the end of that video. Now I'm going to go ahead and end part 2 here. I have no more time, and we'll go to part 3.